There is a silent, devastating war being fought every single day, not on a physical battlefield, but behind the polished glass doors of modern office buildings. You wake up, put on your professional armor, and carry the most precious, non-renewable currency in the universe into a sterile room, your vital life force. But the exact moment you sit at your desk, the invisible extraction begins. A manufactured crisis is abruptly dropped onto your shoulders. A passive-aggressive comment is disguised as professional feedback. An entirely artificial deadline is set, and instantly your chest tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your heart rate spikes to 110 beats per minute, pounding against your ribs as if you are being hunted. You are sitting perfectly still in an ergonomic chair, completely safe from physical harm. Yet your biological system is preparing for a violent, primitive struggle. You are trading your hours for a paycheck, but the corporate machine is extracting your sanity, your peace, and your chi entirely for free. This profound exhaustion you feel at the end of the day is not a flaw in your character. You do not have a problem with stress management, and you are not weak. You are a biological organism trapped inside a highly engineered modern labyrinth. The corporate workplace is not merely an economy of tasks. It is a psychological Skinner box, meticulously designed to keep your sympathetic nervous system in a chronic state of alarm. They weaponize your deepest, most primitive evolutionary instinct, the primal fear of being exiled from the tribe, to force you into a state of hyper-production. Today, we will deconstruct the illusions of the corporate machine. We will lay the foundation and raise the 4 massive walls of the Stoic Fortress. We will explore the ancient mechanics of emotional sovereignty in a chaotic environment. Pay absolute attention to the discourse today, because the 4th pillar is the most treacherous threshold. It requires the complete death of your corporate savior ego, and it is the exact place where 99% of people fail, allowing themselves to be devoured by the machine once again. If you are ready to drop the illusion and build the walls of your fortress, walk with me now. To begin the construction of your absolute sovereignty, you must first understand the primary weapon used against you in the modern workplace. It is the weapon of manufactured urgency. Look closely at the environment around you. In the corporate labyrinth, everything is labeled as a crisis. Every email is flagged as high priority. Every deadline is presented as a matter of life and death. You are constantly bombarded with the language of emergency. We need this immediately, urgent alignment required, critical escalation. The people around you run through the hallways or type frantically into their keyboards, operating with the frantic, scattered energy of people trying to put out a massive, uncontrollable fire. But there is no fire. There is only the illusion of fire, projected onto the walls of the labyrinth to keep you running. We must examine this through the cold, unforgiving lens of neuroscience, because you are currently fighting a biological war that you do not even realize you are in. Deep within the temporal lobe of your brain sits the amygdala. This small, almond-shaped cluster of nuclei is your primal threat detection center. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the amygdala served a singular, magnificent purpose. It kept you alive in the wild. When a starving lion stepped out of the tall grass, your amygdala sounded a violent alarm. It instantly flooded your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. It shut down your digestive system, it paused your immune system, and it pushed highly oxygenated blood directly to your muscles so you could fight for your life or run as fast as humanly possible. The tragedy of the modern worker is that the amygdala has not evolved to understand the difference between a starving lion and a passive-aggressive message on Slack. When your manager sends an abrupt message at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, your primitive brain does not see a digital pixel. It sees the lion. It perceives a direct threat to your survival, because in the subconscious mind, losing your job equates to being cast out of the tribe to starve in the winter. So your body releases the exact same toxic cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline, but you cannot run, and you cannot physically fight. You are forced to sit frozen at your desk, absorbing the chemical bath directly into your internal organs. Over time, this chronic exposure to cortisol destroys your neurobiology. It degrades your hippocampus, impairing your memory. It shatters your sleep architecture. It drains your chi, leaving you feeling hollow, irritable, and profoundly empty when you finally return home to your family. You are literally burning your physical vessel to fuel a machine that does not even possess a heartbeat. To stop this physiological hemorrhage, you must erect the first pillar of the Stoic Fortress, the Moat of Time. In the architecture of a medieval castle, the moat is a deep, wide trench of water that surrounds the stone walls. Its purpose is singular and absolute. It creates a mandatory distance between the fortress and the chaos of the outside world. It prevents the enemy from simply walking up and setting the heavy wooden doors on fire. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that the foundation of all human freedom relies on one devastatingly simple principle: knowing exactly what is within your control and what is entirely outside of it. The disorganization of your manager is outside of your control. The unrealistic expectations of the client are outside of your control. The frantic, anxious energy of your coworkers is outside of your control. When someone approaches you with a manufactured crisis, they are carrying a burning torch. They are vibrating with anxiety, and they want to hand that torch directly to you. They want you to panic with them, because to the chaotic mind, shared panic feels like validation. The reactive mind immediately grabs the torch. The reactive mind drops its own priorities, absorbs the other person's anxiety, and starts running frantically to put out a fire that they did not start. The sovereign mind operates with a chilling difference. The sovereign mind deploys the Moat of Time. When the urgent email arrives, or when the panicked colleague stands at your desk demanding immediate action, you do not react. You introduce a deliberate, agonizingly slow pause. You take a deep breath into the lower abdomen, sinking your physical weight into the floor. You look at them, or you look at the screen, and you consciously force the highly oxygenated blood away from your screaming amygdala and back into your prefrontal cortex, the biological throne room of logical thought. You ask yourself one cold, objective question: is this my fire, or is this their fire? If it is their fire, caused by their poor planning, their lack of foresight, or their own emotional dysregulation, you do not let the fire cross the moat. You do not absorb their pacing. You do not match their volume. You respond with a terrifying, unbreakable calmness. Silence is the water in the moat. By introducing a gap of 10 or 15 minutes before replying to that urgent message, you demonstrate that your nervous system is not tethered to their demands. You are teaching the corporate machine that your peace is a fortress, and their artificial emergencies do not possess the authority to lower your drawbridge. You must realize that 90% of corporate emergencies will magically resolve themselves if you simply refuse to participate in the initial panic. When you stop reacting to everything as if it were a matter of life and death, you reclaim a colossal amount of vital energy. You stop being a puppet dancing on the strings of the company's anxiety. You become the heavy, unshakable stone in the middle of a rushing river. This brings us to the second pillar of the fortress, the ancient, impenetrable defense against the paper assassins. We have established the Moat of Time to protect against the general, chaotic fires of the corporate machine. But a fortress must also withstand a siege from within. It must be impervious to the spies, the saboteurs, and those who operate in the shadows. In the modern workplace, you will inevitably encounter the paper assassins. These are the office politicians, the masters of the passive-aggressive email, the colleagues who smile warmly to your face while quietly positioning themselves to steal the credit for your heavy lifting. They are individuals who lack the competence to build their own empires, so they survive by parasitically draining the energy of those who actually do the work. When a paper assassin strikes, perhaps they undermine you in a critical meeting, or they spread a subtle, toxic rumor about your performance. Your biological impulse is immediate retaliation. The ego, deeply terrified of losing status within the tribe, screams for justice. You feel a burning desire to confront them, to expose their manipulation to the entire village, to passionately defend your honor and prove your immense value to the organization. You must understand that the exact moment you engage in this shadow war, you have already lost. You are a warrior of substance, but you are swinging your heavy iron sword at a cloud of poisonous gas. The paper assassin does not fight in the daylight of truth. They fight in the murky waters of perception. If you react with anger, if you send a furious multi-paragraph email defending your character, or if you raise your voice in the boardroom, you are providing them with the exact ammunition they need. They will remain perfectly calm, point to your emotional dysregulation, and whisper to the tribe, "Look how unstable they are." They have successfully triggered your amygdala, consumed your chi, and used your own reaction to hang you. To neutralize the paper assassin, you must construct the second pillar of the Stoic Fortress, the Wall of Obsidian. Obsidian is a dense, black volcanic glass. It is formed when lava cools so rapidly that crystal structures cannot even form. It is cold, it is impenetrable, and it reflects absolutely everything. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote a devastatingly simple directive for dealing with treacherous people. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. When the saboteur attempts to provoke you, you do not retaliate. You do not explain yourself. You deploy the terrifying power of absolute, chilling professional apathy. You look at them not as a threat to your survival, but as a deeply flawed biological organism operating on a primitive, parasitic loop. A biologist does not get angry at a mosquito for sucking blood. The biologist simply recognizes the nature of the insect and installs a screen on the window. You become the wall of obsidian. When they throw a passive-aggressive insult, let the words hit the heavy black glass and slide harmlessly to the floor. Do not catch their venom. Answer their loaded questions with brief, monotone, universally undeniable facts. Remove all emotion from your voice. Strip your emails of all defensive language. If they attempt to steal your credit in a meeting, do not raise your voice in a frantic plea for recognition. Simply and calmly state the objective data of your contribution. Look them directly in the eyes with a slow, unblinking gaze, and let the heavy silence fill the room. People who operate in the shadows are absolutely terrified of a light that does not flicker. When they realize that they cannot control your emotional thermostat, that they can insult you, manipulate the environment, and spread chaos, yet your heart rate never elevates, they experience a profound cognitive dissonance. Their weapon has failed. The parasite cannot attach to a surface that is perfectly smooth and freezing cold. Eventually, they will retreat to find an easier, more reactive host. You have won the war without drawing your sword, simply by refusing to bleed on their battlefield. But protecting yourself from the malice of colleagues is only a tactical maneuver. To achieve absolute, unshakable sovereignty in the workplace, we must address a much deeper, far more insidious psychological trap. We must confront the illusion that the machine itself possesses the authority to judge the weight of your soul. This brings us to the third pillar of the Stoic Fortress, the separation of role and soul. From the moment you enter the educational system and continuing into your professional life, you are indoctrinated into a false blood pact. The system teaches you to fuse your intrinsic human worth with your economic output. You are conditioned to believe that your job title is synonymous with your identity, and that your performance review is a definitive measurement of your value as a human being. When the corporation praises you, you feel an artificial high. You feel validated. You feel like a king. But when the corporation criticizes you, when you are passed over for a promotion, or when you face a structural layoff, the psychological devastation is absolute. You do not just feel like you lost a source of income. Your amygdala registers it as a total annihilation of the self. You feel as though you are dying. You carry the stress of a bad meeting home with you, letting it poison the sanctuary of your living room, snapping at your family, and staring blankly at the ceiling in the middle of the night, vibrating with a deep, existential dread. This happens because you have forgotten the ancient art of the actor on the stage. Imagine a master theatrical actor playing the role of a tragic king. For 3 hours on the stage, the actor is brilliant. He wears the heavy crown. He cries real tears. He commands the stage with terrifying presence, navigating the betrayals and the wars of the script. But when the curtain falls and the lights go out, the actor walks into the dressing room, takes off the heavy crown, wipes the makeup from his face, and goes home to sit quietly by the fire. The actor does not walk through the grocery store believing he is actually a king. The actor knows, with absolute certainty, that the role he played is not his soul. You must adopt the mindset of the master actor in the theater of the corporate world. The corporation is the stage. Your job title is simply the costume you wear. The projects, deadlines, and quarterly goals are the script you have been hired to perform. When you walk through those polished glass doors at 8 o'clock in the morning, or when you log into the digital network, you put the costume on. You play the role with magnificent skill, profound integrity, and absolute professionalism. You deliver excellence because a sovereign mind does not accept mediocrity in any endeavor. But you must never, for a fraction of a second, confuse the costume with your skin. You must never confuse the script with your destiny. When the manager delivers a harsh critique of your project, they are critiquing the performance of the character on the stage. They are not critiquing your soul. They do not know your soul. The corporation does not possess the neurological or spiritual architecture to comprehend the depth of who you truly are. They are a mathematical entity, a machine designed to generate capital. Why would you give a lifeless, heartless algorithm the sacred authority to dictate your self-worth? When you master the separation of role and soul, the corporate environment loses its paralyzing grip on your nervous system. You become functionally untouchable. You can sit in a high-stakes performance review, listen to the feedback, and objectively analyze the data without experiencing a single drop of cortisol in your bloodstream. You process the information logically, adjust your performance if necessary, and completely discard the emotional weight. You stop bleeding your chi into the pockets of the shareholders. You perform your duties, you collect your capital, and at the end of the day, you take the mask off, leave it on the sterile desk, and walk out of the building completely whole. The machine rents your intellect for a set number of hours. It does not own the quiet, sovereign empire of your mind. We now approach the fourth and most dangerous threshold of the labyrinth. You have built the Moat of Time. You have erected the wall of Obsidian to deflect the venom of the office politician. You have learned the masterful art of separating your eternal soul from your temporary corporate role. But none of these defenses will save you if the enemy is already inside the gates. And the most lethal enemy in the corporate ecosystem does not wear the face of a demanding boss or a manipulative colleague. It wears your own face. This brings us to the fourth pillar of the Stoic Fortress, the absolute, uncompromising assassination of the corporate martyr. Look deeply into your own patterns of behavior. It is late in the evening. Your physical vessel is aching. Your eyes are burning from the glare of the screen, and your family is quietly existing in the other room, waiting for you to return to them. Yet, you are logging back into the network. You are fixing a presentation that is not your direct responsibility. You are answering emails that could easily wait until the morning. You are sacrificing your weekends to ensure a project launches flawlessly. When you do this, what do you tell yourself? You whisper a very specific lie to your own ego. If I do not do this, everything will fall apart. They need me. I am the only one holding this together. You believe that this relentless sacrifice is a manifestation of your stellar work ethic. You believe it makes you noble. But the sovereign mind must look at this behavior with terrifying honesty. This is not dedication. This is an arrogant, deeply ingrained savior complex. You are bleeding your vital chi into the soil of a corporation because your ego has become addicted to the illusion of being indispensable. We must dissect the neurobiology of this martyrdom. Why does it feel so strangely intoxicating to be the one who saves the day, even as it destroys your health? When you step in to solve a crisis that belongs to someone else, or when you over-deliver at the expense of your own sleep, your brain receives a massive, immediate surge of dopamine and serotonin. You feel important, you feel validated, You feel as though you have secured your position within the tribe, silencing that primitive, anxious amygdala that fears exile. The corporate machine understands this biological glitch perfectly. The machine is not inherently evil. It is simply an algorithm designed to maximize output and minimize cost. It will never tell you to stop working. It will never tap you on the shoulder and say, "You have given enough of your life force today. Go rest." A machine has absolutely no capacity for gratitude, empathy, or moderation. It only possesses the capacity for consumption. If you voluntarily lay your nervous system on the altar of productivity, the machine will quietly consume it, internalize it as the new baseline of your performance, and expect it again tomorrow. You are acting like a magnificent heavy draft horse pulling a plow through a field. The horse pulls until its muscles tear, until its lungs burn, and until its heart literally bursts in its chest, believing it is performing a noble duty. But when the horse collapses and dies in the dirt, the farmer does not weep for the horse's soul. The farmer simply evaluates the delay in the harvest and purchases another horse by sunrise. You are not a draft horse. You are a sovereign human being. You must confront the cold, brutal, and profoundly liberating reality of your relationship with the corporate entity. You are entirely replaceable. If your physical vessel were to fail tonight, if the chronic stress were to finally stop your heart, the machine would not halt. The executives would not cancel the quarterly goals. An automated email would be sent to the department. A brief moment of corporate silence would be observed, and your exact job description would be posted on the internet before your family even had the chance to arrange your funeral. Why then are you treating a meaningless quarterly report as if it is a matter of life and death? Why are you trading the unrecoverable hours of your youth, the presence you owe to your loved ones, and the sacred peace of your own mind for an entity that views you as a line item on a spreadsheet? To finalize the architecture of your Stoic Fortress, you must practice the profound discipline of letting the small fires burn. When a corporation understaffs a department to save capital, they create a systemic gap. When a manager fails to plan appropriately, they create a logistical fire. If you constantly work 80-hour weeks to cover that gap, if you frantically rush to put out their fires, you are not being a hero, you are being an enabler. You are using your own blood and your own sanity to hide the structural incompetence of the machine. As long as you absorb the friction of their failures, the architects of the system will never be forced to fix the building. You must have the chilling discipline to step back and let the artificial deadlines shatter. If a project cannot be completed within the boundaries of a healthy, sovereign workday, you must allow the project to be delayed. Let the manager experience the uncomfortable friction of their own poor planning. Let the system crack under its own unrealistic weight. When the fire approaches, you do not throw your body on the flames. You stand safely behind your wall of obsidian, you observe the fire, and you calmly report the objective data. This deadline is mathematically impossible with the current resources. How would you like to reprioritize? This requires a terrifying level of internal fortitude, because when you first stop overfunctioning, you will experience severe psychological withdrawal. The savior ego will panic. You will feel intense guilt when you close your laptop at 5 o'clock. You will feel a burning urge to check your messages at night, convinced that you are being irresponsible. You must sit with this discomfort. You must observe the guilt and realize that it is not the voice of your soul. It is simply the dying gasp of your corporate conditioning. Excellence is not synonymous with exhaustion. You can take profound pride in your craft. You can execute your duties with the precision of a Shaolin master, and you can be entirely committed to the quality of your output, all while maintaining an impenetrable boundary around your personal energy. The true master operates with supreme efficiency during the designated hours, but when the bell rings, the master drops the tools. You must reclaim the throne of your own life. The energy you have been frantically pouring into the corporate void is the exact energy required to build your own empire. It is the chi needed to cultivate your physical health, to deepen your intellect, to nurture your bloodline, and to construct a reality that you actually own. You have spent years being the unpaid architect of someone else's dream, functioning as the ultimate shock absorber for a chaotic world. It is time to resign from the position of the martyr. It is time to let the false urgency of the labyrinth echo in the distance, entirely detached from your nervous system. We must look at the reflection in the mirror and decide who will walk through those glass doors tomorrow morning. The construction of the Stoic Fortress is not a passive philosophical exercise. It is a radical biological rebellion against a highly engineered system of control. You have dug the Moat of Time to isolate yourself from the manufactured fires of urgency. You have erected the freezing wall of Obsidian to neutralize the venom of the office politician. You have learned the masterful art of separating your eternal soul from your temporary corporate role. And you have committed to assassinating the savior ego, leaving the small logistical fires to burn so that the machine is forced to feel the friction of its own incompetence. But you must not be naive. You must not believe that the moment you lay the final stone of this fortress, the corporate labyrinth will simply bow to your newfound sovereignty and leave you in peace. When you fundamentally change the rules of your engagement with the environment will aggressively push back. In behavioral psychology, there is a phenomenon known as an extinction burst. When a rat in a cage has been conditioned to push a lever and receive a pellet of food, and you suddenly stop delivering the food, the rat does not simply walk away. The rat panics. It pushes the lever faster, harder, and more frantically than ever before, desperately trying to force the old system to work. Your corporate environment has spent years pushing your lever. They have expected your instant replies. They have relied on your anxiety to cover their logistical gaps. They have fed on your willingness to sacrifice your physical health to meet their artificial deadlines. When you suddenly deploy the Moat of Time, when you stop over-functioning and establish a rigid boundary around your vital energy, the machine will experience an extinction burst. Your manager may escalate their tone. They may use subtle language of disappointment, implying that you are no longer a team player. They may send emails with even more aggressive markers of urgency, attempting to flood your amygdala with cortisol to break your resolve. The colleagues who used to dump their responsibilities onto your shoulders will complain. The system will create a violent, chaotic storm specifically designed to test the structural integrity of your new walls. This is the exact moment where the vast majority of people surrender. The pressure of the extinction burst feels too intense. The fear of tribal exile flares up in the primitive brain, and they quietly lower the drawbridge. They apologize for setting a boundary. They go back to answering emails at midnight. They return to the altar of the martyr. If you wish to maintain your sovereignty, you must look at this escalating chaos with the cold, detached curiosity of a scientist. You must understand that their panic is not your problem. Their frustration is merely the sound of the old, manipulative algorithm failing to execute its code. Imagine a towering cliff of solid granite standing at the edge of a violent ocean. When a massive storm rolls in, the waves do not politely ask the cliff to move. The dark, heavy water crashes against the stone with terrifying, deafening kinetic energy. The ocean attempts to batter the cliff into submission. It tries to drag the rock down into the abyss, but the cliff does not negotiate with the ocean. The cliff does not apologize for being in the way. The cliff simply roots itself deeper into the core of the earth and absorbs the impact. Eventually, the wave shatters into a million harmless drops of white foam and recedes back into the sea. The storm always exhausts its fuel. The cliff remains. When the corporate storm attempts to batter your boundaries, you must become the granite cliff. You must physically anchor your vessel. When the aggressive email arrives, do not hold your breath. Do not let your shoulders rise toward your ears. Drop your physical tension. Breathe slowly and deeply into the dantian, the center of gravity just below your navel. Look at the words on the screen and consciously recognize that they hold absolutely no power over your biological state unless you voluntarily grant them permission. You do not need to fight the wave. You simply need to let it crash and break against your unshakable apathy. As you hold the line, day after day, a profound transmutation of energy will occur within your life. The corporate machine will eventually realize that your lever is permanently broken. They will stop trying to manipulate your anxiety because you no longer offer them any friction to grip. They will adjust to your new baseline. They will learn that your yes is an ironclad commitment, but your no is an impenetrable wall. And in that magnificent, quiet space, you will suddenly realize how much raw, uncorrupted life force you have reclaimed. The chi that used to drain away into the sterile carpets of the office building is now trapped securely inside your physical vessel. What will you do with this colossal return of energy? You will redirect it toward the construction of your true empire. You will realize that the corporate job was never meant to be your identity. It was only ever meant to be the funder of your actual life. You become a highly skilled, emotionally detached mercenary. You execute your daily tasks with absolute precision. You provide excellent value for the capital they pay you, and the transaction is clean, perfectly balanced, and devoid of emotional bleeding. The energy you save will be poured into your physical health, transforming your body into a weapon of vitality. It will be poured into your family, allowing you to sit at the dinner table with clear eyes and a calm heart, entirely present with the people who actually love you. It will be poured into your own side endeavors, your art, your investments, and your legacy. You will walk through the world with the heavy, quiet confidence of a sovereign king or queen who is entirely self-sustaining. The labyrinth becomes nothing more than a room you visit for a few hours a day, a game you play with masterful skill, before returning to the throne of your real life. I know the agonizing weight of the years you have spent in the dark. I see the invisible heavy scars you carry from giving your absolute loyalty to a faceless logo that would replace you before the sun sets. I know the nights you lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, grinding your teeth, feeling a hollow, suffocating dread in your chest, because the boundaries of your life had completely collapsed. You were sold a lie. You were told that if you just sacrificed enough of your youth, your peace, and your sanity, the machine would eventually take care of you. You have bled enough for an entity that does not possess a heart. You have absorbed the chaotic incompetence of the world for far too long. Look at your hands. Look at the strength of your own architecture. The era of the reactive, anxious servant is dead. The era of the corporate martyr has been burned to ash. You are the architect of your own nervous system. You are the absolute, undisputed ruler of your internal environment. The fortress is built. The heavy iron gates are closed. The walls of Obsidian are standing tall, freezing cold and impenetrable. So, I leave you with one final, piercing question as you prepare to step back into the battlefield of the modern world. Tomorrow morning, when the sun rises, the alarm rings, and you walk through those polished glass doors to face the endless chaos, the noise, and the manufactured panic of the labyrinth. What terrifying, unshakable sovereign will they meet when they try to hand you their fire? The choice is yours. The path is open. Amituofo.